Welcome back to the Marketer of the Day podcast. We are here with return guest after so many years. I don't even know how many years, but Steve Young. So I know Steve Young from appmasters.co. And Steve Young is the founder of AppMasters, where he has helped and increased downloads and revenues for over 3,300 apps. We have so many different subtopics to talk about. Steve, super glad to have you back.
Robert, it's the first time we talked, 2017. I'm looking at our emails right now. That's episode 378. What are you, like thousands in, right?
I wish. I think this is like maybe 727 or so.
Okay.
So it should be thousands. And I've seen that as far as the numbers you do. I mean, I feel like you're in the thousands because I
Close
see
to
just
it.
interviewing like the whole universe, almost like the whole entire app store. And now it's a video world. I think when we last talked, it was audio only. And back then there was so much overthinking. There was so much of like, well, let's plan a podcast or what am I going to do? And nowadays it's just like you show up, you hit the button, you do it. Who cares how many gigabytes or what bit rate the videos are? Who cares about equipment? It's all done in Zoom. And I looked a couple of months ago on your YouTube channel, and I was super impressed with like the increase in production quality, how sometimes I'll see like you and your microphone and your laptop, and sometimes you'll have these interesting hooks in your YouTube channel, like, you know, we'll make an app in 30 minutes, things like that. So yeah, there's like so many cool things, and like just the lesson I get from where I've improved since then and where you've improved since then is just like gradual incremental increase, and kind of the quantity ends up creating the quality, right? You just keep on making the episodes, keep on making the connections, and then the quality just naturally, slowly improves over time. So very inspiring seeing what you've been up to since our last communication.
Robert, I love that messaging. The quantity improves the quality. That is something that I live by, because I think too many times, you know, when I first started creating YouTube, and that's the number one way people find me now is through YouTube, you know, it was just like, open up my laptop and let's go, right? Like it was totally Gary Vee type of style. Like, all right, that's good enough. Let's open up the laptop and let's go. And some of the most like best performing videos have been just me being like, you know, this isn't interesting. I'm not ready to shoot video, but I'm just going to open up the laptop. I'm in like a hat, you know, not very presentable from a professional perspective. Let's go and let's just film it. And then you just get better. And then I don't think enough people put in the hours of just like, you're close to 800 episodes in, and according to your website, and I'm at 800 episodes in. It's just like, we've been doing this for a very long time, man.
And just kind of continuing at it and see where it goes. And I think when I last emailed you, I kind of mentioned this whole thing of like you're a good example of you live in a universe, right? And a lot of people, they're in a niche instead of a universe. They say, well, my niche is I teach, you know, carpentry, or like I teach how to be a lawyer. But you're like, well, I'm in the app niche, and so there's a whole directory of like pretty much anyone who has an app is someone who can be a guest on your show, is something that can be a YouTube video. And then there's even like other levels of that. Like you can, you know, review hardware, you can review app creation tools. And then from an outside perspective, seeing you create all this content, it also makes me think that it leads to you being like the utmost authority on anyone who wants to create an app. Right? Because it's like, it's one thing to make a podcast or create content, but we have to make money somehow. And with you like reviewing all these apps and showing what can be done with apps, then when it becomes time for someone to say, I want to create an app of my own, it seems like then you, Steve Young, become the go-to person for that solution.
Yeah. Well, we don't make apps, we just market them. But yeah, like I think part of it's just trial and error. Like I do these videos where I go, hey, here's an app that's making X amount of money. And I just did that on a whim too. I was like, how is this app making this much money? And I found that, you know, people like to see them. And so I was like, all right, well, let's do more of these. Let's try to find more unique type of apps that are making lots of money within the app store, and just show people that, hey, this is what they're doing right. This is what they're doing wrong. And it's one of the easiest videos for me to create, but it's hard to find a good app that I want to cover that I feel like, hey, you know, this is actually a cool looking app that's actually making decent money. And so, you know, like I think it's creating content. I think YouTube has totally changed the game for me. And then just being consistent with that content. But yeah, like it's been pretty fun. And I know one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, Robert, because you do this with your business too, is, you know, like this productized type of service where we can charge. For you, it's done for you podcasting. For me, we switched over to more what we do for our clients. Here are the list of items we're going to do for you, and then you can pay on a monthly basis. And I think the biggest learning for me in business has been lifetime value. And so what I used to charge for like a package, let's say $4,000 or $5,000 one-time fee, I now break it down to like smaller chunks on a monthly fee. And I'm betting the fact that you're going to love us, we're going to do a good job, and you're going to end up paying me more than the 4,000 you would have paid me. Right. And that's really paying off. And so I believe in this whole unlimited blank type of thing. You've seen like Design Pickle, or I pay for Video Husky, who does all my video editing, but this is like unlimited video editing. But you have a set amount of days, and there's only so much that you can get to the queue. But the way it works is one in, one out. And so we said, let's do that. We'll do unlimited apps. Like before, it was like $4,000 for one app. Now we're like, forget it. I was going to say a different F word, but I was like, forget it. Let's do unlimited apps. We'll do all the SEO for the M, and then we'll make a bet that the fact that we're going to do a good job and they're going to stay on longer. And that, like, I love that model so much. I'm sure it's paying off for you with Done For You podcasting.
Yeah, it seems like having that model of we'll kind of do like an unlimited, but it's like, one in, one out. So it's unlimited like work, but it's as fast as you can give us the work and review the work. It feels like, at least from my side of things, it feels like it's like steady growth. And it seems like it's more encouraging just because it's easier to land a monthly client as opposed to doing all this work. And I know it's like, I almost feel kind of like a marketing imposter, because you always hear, raise your prices and be high ticket and be the white glove service. And it's like, that's nice. But in the meantime, I want to pay the bills, and I want to have some stability. I don't want to be serving just a handful of masters that might quit at any moment. And then there's always that awkwardness of like meeting someone, doing the discovery call, doing the proposal. And in this day and age of apps where you just want to get the phone and push the button and make it happen, I think about, I've joined one of these graphic services myself called No Limit Creatives. And I joined it just like trying them out for a month, seeing what the work comes in, seeing if I can kind of like multiply the money that I put in and come out. And then they had like a video creation service, which like I've been thinking about upgrading to that as well. But but when I think about like my purchases, if I'm making a $4,000 purchase, like I do that pretty regularly, but I need to be convinced. I need to sometimes like save up the money or like justify it in the budget. Whereas with a lot of these where it's a few $100s a month, I'm more eager to risk that. And I'm more eager to just give them a shot, try them out for a month or a few months, and then review. And I feel like it's just way less of a roadblock to get those sales. And also, I don't know how you feel about this, Steve, but I feel like a lot of the high ticket kind of people are like sort of locked up, right? I feel like many times it's like a friend of a friend makes a recommendation and then buys one of these high ticket services. And I'm thinking like, I'm in so many ways, I'm like locked out of the cool kids club because I'm not connected with exactly who I need to be. And then I feel like maybe I'm kind of undercutting the market slightly and making it easier, because if there's someone else who's $4,000 one time and I'm $400 a month, it's for you and me, we're thinking like it's kind of almost the same thing, because we do this work over several months, but then again, there's like less barrier of entry, at least it feels like. And so to understand you and your business model, what you have going on, you said you don't create apps, you market them, you grow them. So if someone came to you and said, all right, Steve Young, App Masters, you have this monthly service, what do I get for what I pay you monthly?
Yeah, it's unlimited apps. And we do, so our main bread and butter is App Store optimization, which is SEO for the App Store. And so we'll help you with the creatives. What should your screenshots say? We'll help you with optimizing your title, your subtitle, your description, to help you get better rankings for the keyword and drive more organic downloads. And then what we made a shift back in 2019, we said, hey, we don't want to just be good at app growth, because we feel like we've talked about that a lot. We feel like we're really decent at that. We want to help people make more money, because frankly, like we've done really good in terms of app growth for a client, and then he had to shut down the app because it just wasn't monetizing. So I made that shift and I started thinking about conversion rate optimization. I don't know if you remember, Robert, but like I'm old school. So I remember in the web, we were talking all about content marketing, guest blogging, super huge, right? And then slowly somebody Pepe, or I forgot his name, but he runs Conversion XL, but he was talking about conversion rate optimization. He was like one of the two people talking about it. And then certain more and more people started talking about conversion rate optimization. It's just like essentially how do you make more money or how do you get more email open? So it's all about these like A/B testing. And so I was like, you know what? The mobile space is a little bit slower than the web space. I saw that happen. I was there. I was a part of it. I was a fan of it. Let me do that. Let me be the leading voice when it comes to conversion rate optimization within the app space. And let me show you, strategies that help you earn money from your apps through just, hey, here are all the tactics tactically, and here are all the overarching strategies that work in increasing revenues. And we've seen phenomenal success with that. And that's where we're like, okay, so like one plan comes with the basics, which is just SEO, some design, unlimited design for the app stores. And then other plans come with managing a client's ads or helping you make more money. So what we call an app audit, conversion rate optimization, retention rate optimization, all that stuff.
And
So we have a couple of tiers just like you do as well.
And yeah, and so that way it's like, yeah, because like without having the tiers, then sometimes they say like I want more of this or less than that. So there's like kind of like the right fit there. And so what's interesting about what you just listed there about like sort of the services you provide is it seems like it's like repeatable and you can have a smooth system for putting things out because like my origins are sort of like I'm like a PHP WordPress type of guy.
Yeah.
And I'm so jealous about these people that like provide the like if your site is hacked, they'll fix it or they'll speed up your site. And I'm like, oh, that would be such a cool service to provide, but it would require digging deep into the weeds and into the code. It doesn't sound very, very pleasant. And so likewise with you, it seems like you don't edit their code, you don't edit their app. You're saying we'll give you copywriting, basically landing page stuff, the wordage, the graphics. And so it seems like by you avoiding getting deep into the code, but you still have tapped into these things that are largely missing, right? Like the graphics and the wordage and stuff like that. So it's like you can, it sounds bad, but you can like crank this out, right? You can find a client and you can easily say you need these 12 things and you're missing most of these things, and you can immediately put your team to work on pumping out these deliverables. Versus if you said, well, we'll go and edit your app and make it good. You're saying we'll do these things from our side and we'll do the audit and we'll tell your programmers what to do in your app. But as far as the app masters team, we'll put out these things from our side. But that's like, there's like some thought process into what you will touch and what you won't touch.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's how it works, right? That's how it should work. And that's why we're able to charge an affordable rate, because I know some companies that are in the app marketing space, they won't talk to you unless you got like 10, 20, $30,000 to spend. And the market that I cater to, they're all app entrepreneurs. And we've got big clients, like we work with Red Bull, GoPro, all these bigger clients. But at the same time, like I know 80% are people who are just in the startup entrepreneurial space too. And one of our clients, she's known of me, she's followed my content, and she's like, hey, Steve, it was only until you changed your plans that I felt like I could work with you. I was like, oh, that's really eye-opening. And guess what, Robert? She stayed on longer than the 4,000 that I would have eventually charged her, right? But she's getting value because she wants that touch. And so that's what I've done with my plans. Like, if you want more, high touch, you want more access to me, well, you just got to pay a different plan, right? But if the basic one comes with like just you and me, Basecamp, we'll talk then. But if you want to hop on a monthly call, here's this plan. If you want to hop on a biweekly call, here's this plan. And so there's ways to cut it, but I'm a firm believer in all this unlimited stuff. I got to tell you, like, I've always been a believer because I pay for so many of them. I use Bench, which does all my accounting and bookkeeping. I have Video Husky. I used to pay for Design Pickle before I hired a full-time designer. And I started this service that was for copywriting. So I was like, hey, we're going to write blog posts, $370 a month, blah, 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 right? And we were able to get some clients on it, but it became a huge pain in the butt. And so after that, I ended up selling that business for like nothing really. But I was like, you know what? I should just do this for App Space. That's what people know me for, Steve. Why are you trying to launch a brand new business that nobody knows about you with blog writing, all this stuff? Just start this type of model into the niche that you already have. And that's when I finally did that. And I did that slowly, like, right. I was just all beta. It was literally the way I launched this was people would contact me. I show them presentation. and then they could use a PayPal link, and that's how they would pay me on a monthly basis in a subscription, right? So they would just pay me every month through PayPal. And I launched this very, very slowly to the point where now I'm like, hey, just check out this pricing. So that became the main thing, the main course. Before the main course were still this one-off packages. And then once that started really ramping up, I then just switched over. So I was like, just sign up for these monthly things. That's the best for you.
That makes that's easy for anyone to take a similar journey, because you did an experiment, you tried things out. And then, and there's also a little bit in there where you said like, there was like, what stuck with your business were like kind of the adjacent businesses, right? Like you said, well, there's, you're known in the app space. I mean, you're all the way over in this other area of like the blog posts and things like that. But when you made it like almost like the next business over, then that's less of a stretch. And you always hear about that advice of like, be known for one thing, but then it's also hard to balance that with doing the fun experiments. So it seems to me like the solution is to kind of have these adjacent businesses. And then when you appear on the podcast like this one, and you get to talk about what's fun for you and things like that, you don't have to be kind of saying, well, I do this and this and this. You say, yeah. I do apps. That's what I do. And so what was interesting, and I don't want to keep you for too long, because can you believe over 20 minutes have passed just about, and I don't want to keep you for this whole length of time, but you mentioned earlier on about something about how like some apps are really killing it, right? And
Yep.
you've seen all the apps, and everyone wants to be like a Candy Crush or an Angry Birds or something like that. So what would you say, just in these like last few minutes that we have, what would you say are like the success factors? Like, what are the apps that are doing really well? What are they doing right? And what should app creators avoid maybe?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think what they're doing right, I'll give you main points. So those who already, most of the time, Robert, I find like people have an app idea already, right? Because one of the things I try to share too is, here's how you find $1 million app ideas. Here's how I've been doing it. And that's why I'm creating these videos. Most people already have an app idea. So if you already have an app idea, then what I would say, 80 to 90% of all your in-app purchases, let's talk about non-games, subscription apps, just like you and I have a subscription service. I think subscription apps are the way to go. So 80 to 90% of your in-app purchases, your subscriptions are going to come from two main screens. Okay, Robert. Number one is going to be during the welcome flow. So the onboarding. You download an app, they have a couple of different screens. Very important to try to prep them up, because think of a download as a drunken download, meaning you and I had drinks, and then you tell me about an app, I forget all about it. I open it the next day, I'm like, what the hell is this app again? Remind them, add some social proof, talk about unique benefits, and then show them the pricing page. That's where about 60% of your in-app purchases are going to come from that pricing page. And the second spot is your main page of an app. So just like you and I on our home pages have, you have a link to Done For You podcasting, I have a link to my services, a way to contact me, some pricing, right? On your main page, don't hide it in the settings tab of your app. Put the upgrade somewhere on this home page, because that's where most people are going to see it. And so those are two critical areas where if you do anything, those are the two things. If you have it in place, you'll do a lot better than what I've seen most app developers do, because that's still the critical mistakes that I see.
And that seems like very low hanging fruit. I imagine from all the things you've seen, I mean, even just you mentioning that don't hide it in the settings app, it makes it seem like most of these apps have the upgrade hitting in the settings app. And yeah, you're making me think like there's so many times when I wanted to like change my plan or upgrade or downgrade, and I had to like, even me as a computer geek was like, well, do I click on the gear, or do I click on my picture to try to find that? Do I look at like account settings or billing? Sometimes it's even multiple clicks deep, and it's like, the way that you put it, it's like you're making it difficult for people to give you money. So that's really good to think about right there, is put it on the welcome screen and put it on the main screen. And so as we kind of are near the tail end of our conversation, it feels like we said, the time has flown by, but we want to keep people hungry or thirsty or eager to get you and more of your content. Can you tell us your best dad joke? Because I saw that in the list of questions. Had to keep it fun. What do you have for us as far as dad jokes? And is there an app for dad jokes?
Oh man,
because there should be.
There is an app for dad jokes, and yes, there is one, but I don't think it's doing well from a monetization standpoint. So nobody's probably paying for it. One last thing I want to hit on too, as we're talking, is So longer pricing pages. So maybe the first two tips I gave are like pretty obvious. Like thanks, Steve, but that's Captain Obvious. But the last thing I would say is the longer pricing pages. You and I know, and I see your pricing page on Done For You podcasting. Like longer pricing pages convert better. Same thing on mobile. What we've seen is longer pricing pages are outperforming one of our apps. We work with 12x's revenues. Another app increases revenues by 65% by just having a longer pricing page, because it's a considered purchase, right? You're signing up for something. You just want to know, and people will scroll and read what they want to read. So longer pricing pages are performing a lot better. Okay, here's a dad joke. All right, here we go. Robert, what did the nut say when it was chasing the other nut? What did one nut say while it was chasing the other nut?
No idea.
I'm a cashew. There it is.
Good one.
But we need some sound effects. I should have brought that in. But yeah,
should have had an app ready for that. and you know what is interesting is I was interviewing a guy, I think the other day, who he had some kind of like cryptocurrency box device appliance kind of thing. And his whole strategy was looking at what's already existing and combining it into one. So I wonder if in your dad joke app, if you combined the random dad joke and then had like a soundboard where when you made the lame joke, you could tap a button and then make the, the ha or the rim shot or something like that.
Yeah. That's great. And I think, like onto that idea, like that's how you find these apps. Like go to App Annie, go under top charts, figure out and pick a different category. Don't just look at the top overall charts, because you can see the obvious Netflix, all that stuff, but pick a category that you think might be interesting and then look at it. And, I found there's an app that allows you to see a secret menu of Starbucks, right? That is making $8,000 a month. And it's like, what? So you can do that. And then you go into sensortower.com and then you put that app into it. You can do this all for free, Robert. You put that app in there and then Sensor Tower will report the last month's revenue and downloads. And so they're not always accurate, but they're pretty accurate, right? They're pretty accurate. So you can get a sense of how well an app is doing. And then if it makes sense, you can build something similar. And so,
and that right there, that's a good reminder that it's sometimes you see like, apps that do really well. And it's easy to think like, oh, well, they struck gold. They thought of something and they made it and it was a runaway hit. But it seems like there's a way to have all this data. There's a way to kind of like hedge our bets and kind of, have some of the scientific approach, and then you combine it with your own creativity and kind of make an informed decision and say, well, what's already out there, what's ranking, what's selling. And then if you have a new spin on it, now you don't always have to have a shot in the dark. Now it's not as risky because you're not necessarily just jumping out with a harebrained idea. You can say, there's this popular app and that makes me think, if this is popular, maybe this idea is popular, or maybe this app can be combined with something else or has some missing feature. And even like, since you and your service it revolves around graphics and copywriting, I'm sure that there are like, phrases and like, power words and like headline templates and, graphic templates that, like this thing with the big logo or the big text or these bright colors will work. And so that's kind of the lesson I get there, is that you can weigh the data along with your own personal creativity.
Yeah, that's it. That's it, Seth.
Well, cool. Well, what is in the future for you? What's you have this new productized service that's happening. You have multiple levels. What is on the horizon for Mr. Steve Young and the whole App Masters franchise?
Hopefully getting on Survivor. I'm going to put that into the universe. I love that show. And so I'm put that in the universe. Let's see what happens there. But honestly, I'm so bullish on this whole membership subscription type of thing, figuring out ways to leverage that. And so thinking about ways that I can create a membership site out of that, where people have access to me, monthly type of thing. We do have a digital course that generates some revenue every month. And so I'm like, well, how do I break that down? Instead of charging $1,000 a one-time fee, how do I make it more affordable, get more people in? So same type of thought process as I went with our $4,000 example, and thinking about how do I do that for a community? Because I already have a community. I love community. I wouldn't be where I'm at today if I didn't join a mastermind early on while I was still working, and I was doing this on the side. And so I still am a firm believer, but at the same time, it's time consuming. And while I love to give my time, I have to also protect it. And so I've been thinking about how do we turn this membership model into a community where I provide content and also more access to me. So that's what I'm most excited about in 2022.
Well, we will have to follow up with you in a couple of
Sure.
years again to see how that played out. And yeah, there's just been so much to think about in our conversation, and like what's coming to mind as far as hearing about your journey and kind of what you built here is like I at first tried just the freelancing route, and that was kind of had its own frustrations. And then I went to the kind of curating products, and then selling things for like $1,000, $2,000, but then it's a little hard to explain, right? Like if you say, well, I do this, and they say, oh, well, you do this for me. Well, no, you have to buy my course. And then there was a
Right.
kind of a phase where I said, well, the done for you option is this huge price because I really don't want to do it. But if it's this high price, then it's worth my while. But then that kind of was not very predictable income. I'd make these high ticket sales, but I couldn't make these sales every day, every week. And then there's just all these gaps in the middle. And you've said a few times here that like you have this thing that's kind of high ticket and you provide this service that helps, but how do you get it to be more into the masses, get it in the hands of more people without discounting yourself? Because that's the easy way out. The easy way is just to say, well, I'm scared, I'll make the price super low. But how do you kind of have your cake and eat it too? And like just talking to you, there's just so many different ideas of like, people say, well, you can sell this course, and then after they buy the course, then you have kind of the monthly or the done for you or the coaching, and you subtract the price of that off of the course that they already bought. So in a way, they get a 2-for-1, but also you get paid for something that doesn't cost you anything extra. Even talking to you, and since you're the app guy, you make me think like, man, even for what I do, there should be like an app or like a thing they get for free just by installing it. And then on that welcome screen or on that main screen, they can tap a button and upgrade and get something that they paid for. I mean, so many cool possibilities. And even just looking at your YouTube channel, which everyone should do, is just super inspiring as far as the quantity. Like we said at the beginning, there's the quantity and the quality. The quantity that we should all be putting out and connecting and always being just a super energetic machine of answering questions and talking about what we want to talk about and doing the reviews and just going into all these cool things. And so people, if they were as excited as I am and just going a mile a minute just talking to you, they should be checking out appmasters.co and the AppMasters YouTube channel. And what do you feel like plugging here, Steve? If someone really enjoyed our conversation and their brain's on fire with tons of ideas, where should they go? What should they do?
Well, you can go to AppMasters. I have .co and the .com, so you can go either one. That'll work. But then check out the YouTube. I think I'm very much trying to grow that channel as much as possible. Appmasters.com/YouTube will get you straight there. So if you can do me a favor, just hit that subscribe button. Trying to impress my son. We're close to 20,000 subscribers. Once we hit that, we're gonna have a party. I said we should do something. Did kind of celebrate 1,000 because that was a big milestone. Didn't really celebrate any other milestones. It was just like, hey, we did it, cool. But we're gonna try to really celebrate 20,000.
And will your son really be impressed with 20,000, or is he one of those kids that you hear about where nothing impresses them?
No, Robert, he's a good kid. He was impressed with just like 5, like he actually will tell his friends that, yeah, my dad has 20,000 subscribers because he has his own YouTube channel and he knows how hard it is. I think when you talk to people who aren't impressed with 20,000, it's those who don't have a YouTube channel or haven't tried to create their own platform. You and I both know how hard it is to get any type of traction for any type of content that we create. And so he understands that. Like he's just trying to get like 100 on his YouTube channel. I'm trying to help him do that, just playing video games. So he understands it. And I never try to say anything bad about content creators or just creators in general, because you know how hard it is to create. And so whether it's ugly, bad video quality, bad audio quality, it doesn't matter. You had the guts to create it and put it out in the world. If you did that, you deserve some props. So yeah, he's a good kid.
Well, that's a very good philosophy. I think that you're teaching him right, that it takes just as much energy to be positive as it is negative. And so why put that out in the world? Why kill someone else's dreams? And you never know if you're just offhandedly being negative, if you're causing them to give up. I mean, they might be the next Steve Young, they might be the next YouTube person. And it's easy to like look at this huge unattainable goal, like the kid that makes like $7 million a year
Yeah,
opening
Ryan's
toys and he's
toy
like
review,
7 years
yeah.
old.
Yeah.
We'll never get to that level, but
No.
anyone out there should be applauded for doing what they're doing. And so as we're kind of getting in the final minutes here, Steve, like something that impressed me years ago that I forgot, and now you're making me remember again, was like 15 years ago. I was at a seminar, and this guy presenting, he was making $20 million a year. And someone who like asked the question said, I'm working on my business and I've only made $500 lifetime. And the $20 million a year guy was impressed. He was like, just the fact that you've made $500, it's more than zero. And what you're making me think of is it's easy to look at all these huge, crazy apps that have millions of downloads, millions of users, made millions of dollars. But even if you have an app, if you have a handful of downloads, that is something to be applauded, because you're so far ahead of people who haven't tried, who've given up, and all those other things. So that's just a very like optimistic thing that I'm going to take to heart, and I'm going to teach to my own son that even a handful is better than zero, and anyone should be encouraged for doing that. So very inspiring. At masters.com/YouTube. Don't just hit the subscribe button, smash that subscribe button, as the kids say these days. Any final lessons or parting words of advice? Anything you think we left out today, Steve?
Robert, you hit it on the head. And I think a lot of it, we think sometimes, you alluded to this a couple of times as you were talking, we see these guys selling $10,000 courses, making millions of dollars, and we think we have to be there. I thought the same thing. And then we should just be proud. Like, I have a business that sustains my lifestyle, and I'm happy. I get to spend a lot of time with my kids too. And so I think happiness is the barometer that we should be really thinking about when it comes to success, rather than just hearing about the next big success story and be like, yeah, I got to do that. Great. If that's what's going to make you happy, great. But there's, plenty of rich guys making millions of dollars a year that aren't happy. And so what is going to bring you happiness? That should be the ultimate barometer. And I think it took me a while to really learn this. So it wasn't easy for me, because I kept thinking that I had to go bigger, and this business is too small. It's just a lifestyle business. Who cares about that stuff? And then at a certain point, you're just like, you know what? I love my life. Like, this is good. I don't need to go bigger. So when people are like, you need to go bigger, you need to get more clients, I'm like, no, I'm good. I got a good amount of clients, and more join, great. But if more don't, that's fine too. You know what I mean? Like, life is good.
Very wise, very inspiring. You're going at the pace you should be at. Your business is exactly the size it needs to be. You are exactly where you need to be. And the place that you in podcast land should be going to is at masters.com/YouTube. And we will see you there. And thanks, Steve, for showing up and just blowing our minds with all this sage advice. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Robert.